Good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to Late Night Video. And on this episode, we'll be talking about Naked Killer from 1992. And no, this is not an adult film. This is actually an action thriller from Hong Kong. And let me tell you, it has that 90s Hong Kong cinema kind of vibe to a T. As I mentioned before, in my top martial arts films list, I absolutely love that 90s Hong Kong vibe. The look of it, the feel, it's kind of glossy and almost smoky. Great stuff. Now, Naked Killer tells the story of essentially a crazy girl, and she accidentally becomes an assassin, and then she gets targeted by another assassin who was the pupil of her teacher, Sister Cindy. Characters. Naked Killer stars my absolute favorite Hong Kong actress, and that's Qingmi Yao as Kitty. Though I'm not positive Qingmi is how you pronounce her name, Al from Them's Fighting Words suggested it could possibly be Qingmei Yao, but either sounds good to me, but I will stick with Qingmi. What do you think, APB?
Actually, it's pronounced Kevin.
That doesn't sound right. And besides Kitty in the film, you also have Simon Yam, who plays Tinam, who's the police officer who kind of gets mixed up with Kitty and kind of falls for her, and she basically ruins his entire career. Then we have Wei Yao as Sister Cindy, who is the assassin teacher. And then we have Carrie Ning as Princess, who is the bad assassin. I mean, I guess they're all bad because they're assassins, but the assassin that comes after Kitty. Trivia. I'm just going to jump in here for a second. It's me, Rob, or Sterling, or whatever I'm calling myself this week, from the future. And you can tell it's the future because I have on a hat and different sunglasses. Very futuristic. But I needed to come in to address something that has been brought to my attention, and that has to do with the trivia section and the sleaze section. Well, in my original trivia, I mentioned that supposedly there was a cut version of this that went out in the West, or I should say the version that went out in the West was cut. I could not confirm or deny this at that time. And then with the sleaze section, I talked about that even though the movie has a great sleazy vibe and tone and filled with amazing women's in it, it has no nudity. And I just found it very odd that a movie called Naked Killer had no nakedness. Well, sure enough, I found that the very next day, courtesy of my good friend Al from Them's Fighting Words, that the Western release is indeed cut because he bought it on my recommendation. And his version, which is not the Western release, had all the good stuff and a bunch of stuff that the Western release didn't have. So it turns out the Western version is censored. That blew my mind. Like, I didn't think that sort of thing even happened anymore. But sure enough. All right, I'm gonna give it back to Past Me now. Wacky. Is it wacky? Oh yeah, it's pretty wacky. I mean, as I said, Qingmi Yao Kitty is not very stable. There's a scene in the beginning where she stabs a dude repeatedly in the crotch, and then part of her training, Sister Cindy, locks her in the basement with a bunch of chained up pedos. Yeah, wacky stuff. Availability, it's still pretty readily available. You can find the Western release for a decent price, and then you can look, say, eBay and such, and find different kind of bootleg adjacent looking releases. And I even saw one today because I looked that claimed the uncut version and had a picture of Qingmi wearing a bullet belt thing and shorts and holding a shotgun. I don't know, it's all very confusing. I'm gonna have to jump in again and change my rating. My original rating was 4.5 not so naked killers out of 5, because again, the weirdness of no nudity. Well, now that it turns out that there's actual nudity and more sleaze in this film, it absolutely makes it one of the perfectest films. So I give it 5 actually naked killers out of 5. Not to take away completely from the Western release. If that is the only one you can find, then it's still absolutely worth owning and having. Just know that you're missing that little bit of extra. Now, if you can, hunt down, go to eBay or whatnot and find an uncut version, a Hong Kong release, some other kind of release, that's what you should go with. But again, if the Western release is all you can get, still definitely worth it. It just goes from being 5 to 4.5. And that's all the time we have for this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, and keep it wacky. But I won't know of any of these things because this me is from the future, so it'll be a little while before it catches up.
Wow.